Welcome to Create Your Vibrant Life podcast. Today we're going to continue the topic of stress. And in today's episode, I'm going to share with you some healing techniques of how you can work with stress on a deeper level so it's out of your system for good. So stay tuned.
Hello, visionaries. Welcome to Create Your Vibrant Life podcast, where you can create the life you desire by tapping into your inner wisdom. I'm your host, Padma Ali. I'm widely known in the field of psychology to create long-lasting transformation. And now, I'm here to help you create the life you desire using a combination of neuropsychology and ancient healing practices. This podcast is for you, evolved, overachieving leader who's ready to unlock your highest potential. I'm here to guide you through a process of self-discovery to be the creator of your destiny. And you can do all of that by just taking aligned actions, tapping into the power of your brain, your inner wisdom, and ancient practices. So stay tuned, folks. I am so delighted you are here.
Hello, visionaries. How are you all? If you are new to this podcast, I invite you to go to the first episode and listen to it from the beginning. And thank you for being here. It's not that each episode builds on one another, but there's a continuation and it'll give you a better sense of this work and how these podcast episodes can help you. And if you have not heard the previous episode number 93 on living a stress-free life or how to live a stress-free life, I invite you to listen to that first, because in this episode we're going to dive into specific healing techniques so you can clear stress from your system. And it's really important you do that because it'll help you get some context of why I'm using these specific healing techniques. In this episode, I'm going to teach you some deeper healing techniques that I use with my clients, and also something I've used on myself for years. Because if you have heard any aspect of my podcast, you probably know I have struggled with anxiety I had struggled with anxiety for a long time in my life. And a lot of my healing techniques I teach you or I'm sharing with you come from my own personal experience. So actually, before we dive into the specific healing techniques, I wanted to share with you some basic things I do to make sure that my system does not absorb stress from the environment. And what do I mean by that? The one of the healing techniques, I'm going a little all over the place. I'm going to tie it all back together, so stay with me. The specific healing technique I'm going to teach you, or I'm going to share with you here, is about how we store stress in our body. Our body stores stress. Whenever you have a stressful reaction, it is going to be stored in your body. And therefore, I do certain things pretty much every single day in order to kind of relieve my body of that stress. Or I'm calling stress like anxiety, overwhelm, any of those thoughts and feelings that are not in alignment with your peaceful state of existence. Because you are, believe it or not, meant to live a life from a place of peace and well-being. So, a few things that I do on a regular basis. First of all is saging. So if you've never heard of saging, so saging basically means you take sage. Sage is a plant, and it has many amazing properties, healing properties. And you will find sage in pretty much any health food store online. You can just look for dried sage. And I light up the sage. It starts to smoke a little bit. And then you just sage your whole system. You sage your body, you sage your environment. You clear the energy from that place. Now, if you are not sure how sage actually clears energy, you can just Google it. You can YouTube it. You can find a lot of information on how sage actually works. So I invite you to use sage to clear your environment and to clear your body on a regular basis. And the reason being, our body, whether you believe it or not just our physical body, but I'm talking about your ethereal body, your astral body, your emotional body, all these bodies have the ability to absorb what is in your environment. And so it is vital that you keep your system clear, and saging is one of the ways to keep your system clear. Some of you may be like, what is she talking about? I cannot bring any value to you without being myself in these episodes. So I want to share all aspects of me, and these are things that I have done in my own life. I sage my kids, I sage our home, I sage even my laptop equipment many times, because everything holds energy. Everything has energy. And these things help when you keep your energy system clear, you are operating from a place of peace and well-being, and it allows you to create anything you want in your life. You know, somebody, actually my sister recently said to me, she's like, have you watched Doctor Strange, the Marvel movie? And I was like, no, I haven't seen it. And she's like, you haven't seen that? How come? Like, you have to go see it. And so I just, believe it or not, like I barely watch any TV or any kind of movies for any length of time. And I'm going to tie it back to this episode of why I'm talking about that. Because, and I do watch TV, but it's more like short clips, things that are funny, or like if I need to just zone out for a few minutes, I might watch something super funny on YouTube or something like that. But we don't own a TV. And I was watching that movie and I'm like, whoa, watch it if you haven't seen it. That will explain a lot of how we operate in this world and how we many of us, okay, let me put it this way. If you're listening to my episode, you're probably more tuned in to higher consciousness than the rest of the population. And so what I'm saying may or may not be out of the blue for you. And these are tools that I use every single day in my life to keep myself in a place of peace and well-being, because if I don't, I cannot be of service to anyone. So I sage pretty much before every session I have with my clients. I sage after. I sage my equipments. I sage my home. It is just part of a routine to keep the energy clear in our life. And trust me, guys, like my husband is he's an engineer by background, and he works in the software industry. So he's very, very, very analytical brained, and he functions from a very analytical place. And even he can sense it when the energy is clear and when the energy is not. And the reason I'm sharing that is because when you tune in, you will also be able to sense this energy. And stress is nothing but energy that is not moving in your body. This is why acupuncture works for stress, because what it does is that it's moving the energy from your system. Energy is just trapped. And that's exactly what happens with stress. It's constrictive. It holds you back. Think about it. Like, think about a time when you were stressed out. Notice how that feels in your body. It's very constrictive. And that's exactly what happens with stress. And these things release that. Now, tying it back to what I was saying about TV and watching TV or watching the news, Holy cow, look at what you're exposed to in the news. Doom and gloom. Everything is about how terrible it is and how everything is going downhill. My husband, it's like this morning, he says, oh my God, like the stocks have dropped. But this is what, even if it has dropped, I see that. At the same time, I'm not going to give it too much any space in my head. Why I'm saying that is because there are lots of things our brain gets exposed to in the day, including the news. So if you're watching a lot of news, you are going to start getting stuck in the messages you're listening to in the news or you're reading in the news. So be very mindful of what you put into your head, especially if you want to create a stress-free life. Again, we're not even entered into the healing techniques that I'm going to share. These are some foundational pieces. So the first one is clear your energy, whether it is saging, whether it is just clearing the energy in your space, in your system. Make sure you're very aware of what you're exposing your brain to, because all those things are hypnotic. They pull you in, and especially the doom and gloom stuff, because our brain is programmed for survival. It is going to focus on those things that make it go like, oh my goodness, like something bad's going to happen. Let me prepare for the worst. This is what our brains do. So start to be very mindful of what you expose yourself to, especially this time and age, because there's a lot of chaos in our environment, especially with all the big C word, and it's just insane right now. So be careful about what you're exposing yourself to, of how gloomy everything is and how everything is going to go downhill. So these are two foundational pieces. The other thing that I'm going to invite you to do if you want to live a stress-free life is meditation, having some kind of a mindfulness or a meditation practice that you do every single day. It is non-negotiable, because the more you quieten your brain, the more you quieten the crazy, overwhelming thoughts that you may have as a result of stress, the more easier it is going to be to allow yourself to live a stress-free life. So find a practice that helps you and stick with that. Okay, so let's talk about the healing techniques that I wanted to share with you. So I'm going to give you some brief overview of the techniques. And if you want to learn them deeper, I'm going to invite you to go to my YouTube channel. And there's going to be a video there where I actually demonstrate how to use some of these techniques. So if you want to go deeper into it, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and just check out those videos there, because I go into more details or in-depth in some of the videos there about all the podcast episodes. Just in the last few podcast episodes, I'm going deeper and kind of expanding on different things on the YouTube channel. So make sure to go there. You can search for it. It's also in the show notes, but if you just search for Padma Ali, you'll probably be able to find it. All right. So the healing techniques I wanted to share with you. The first one is when we get stressed, when things show up in our life, right? Like things are going to happen. You're constantly exposed to different things happening in your environment. Things are going to happen. And part of you may have a reaction to that. Again, in the previous episode, I talk about interpretations. Like everything is an interpretation. If you're going to interpret something as a stressful situation, it is going to feel stressful to you. Now, what happens is that it shows up in your body. Your body is going to have, if you tune in, if you're tuned, or if you're empathic, or if you are intuitive, you will notice that a lot of these things show up in the physical body. So what I'm going to invite you to do is think about a situation in your life currently that is making you stressed out. Okay? Now that you have, just take a minute if you need to pause the recording or the podcast episode, just pause it for a second, find that event, situation, person, whatever it is, take a minute to connect with that. Now notice all the thoughts that are coming up as a result of that. Notice all the feelings that are coming up as a result of you putting any energy to it. And notice where it is showing up in your body. You may begin to see that for a lot of people, it shows up in the belly, it shows up in your chest, in your throat, in your head. For some people, it's like in your arms, but it shows up somewhere in your physical body. Now, as we do this, as you listen to this episode, there may be a few more pauses than usual because I'm allowing you time to really connect with it in real time. And as you tune into it, notice where you're feeling it in your body. Now, I'm going to invite you to stay fully present with that sensation in your body. What happens is that anytime we feel discomfort of some kind, because this is not a comfortable feeling, right? Like when you're feeling stressed out about something and you feel it in your body, it's not the most pleasant sensation. So part of you might be like, I just want to distract myself. I want to numb myself. I want to not feel this anymore. So if you're having any of that, I'm just going to invite you to stay fully present with it, letting your reptilian brain know that it is safe to go here, because what you're feeling in your body is not just about this specific situation. It is things that have happened maybe long ago. It's digging up memories of things that may have happened in the past that you may or may not have conscious knowledge of. And as you stay fully present with it, notice if there's anything coming up. Like maybe there's an image that pops up. Maybe there are some more thoughts about it. But whatever it is, without questioning, just pay attention to it for now. With my clients, I do a deeper healing. We clear it from an energetic level. I cannot do that on a podcast episode because, again, it's very unique to each person. But what you can do to work with this to get more understanding and awareness is once you have that connection with that sensation and what this is about, start to journal about it. Take a journal and start writing. And if you need to pause this episode again, just pause it and just start writing anything and everything that comes out till you can't, there's nothing more that's coming out about this particular feeling and sensation, which may, like I said, go beyond the particular situation, person, whatever is stressing you out. Like many times, what happens, like I've said about energetic imprints, and again in my YouTube channel, I explain what energetic imprints are and why we have them in the first place and why we get them and how to work with them. So sometimes what happens is that the stressful situation is a trigger for something else that has happened in the past, that it's just bringing it out into the open. So it's an opportunity to work with it on a deeper level, either to clear it from the imprint perspective or even doing some inner child work or whatever is the root cause of that sensation. Again, like go to the YouTube channel where I actually walk you through some of the specific healing technique, and you can find information about that. And again, if you have questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram or write to me on email. All of the information is in the show notes because I love hearing from you and I'd like to know how this is working when you do this. And also, again, if you need professional help, go seek it. This is just information for you on using some of the healing techniques that I personally use, and I use it with my clients. This is not meant to heal anything that has been intrinsic or you've had it for a long time or if you want to seek, feel free to seek medical advice. That's all I'm saying. Okay, the second healing technique I wanted to share with you is, it's not a surprise, I'm sure it won't be a surprise to a lot of you, it is breath work. Our breath is life-giving. Try to hold your breath for more than a minute or two. You will die, right? Breath is life-giving. And how often do we pay attention to our breath? Barely. Most people don't breathe well. They're breathing shallow, do shallow breathing, which means, again, it's not giving you the life energy that you need. And there are many different types of breath work that you can do. And again, in that particular video on healing techniques for stress, I have shared the specific breathing techniques. I've shared with you 4 types of breathing techniques, and you can follow that to really get a deeper understanding and do some of these breathwork techniques to support your overall well-being. I use breath work more as a prevention rather than dealing specifically with stress, even though you could use it when you're stressed out, this is more for calming your nervous system down. Now notice, right, when you get into stress, when you get into anxiety, overwhelm, any of those things, or you notice other people getting into that, you'll notice that their breath becomes very shallow. And you notice that their nervous system is kind of shot, right? And so all these techniques are going to help you come to a place of peace and calm on a regular basis, on an everyday level. So even when you're dealing with stressful situations that may come up, your system is in a calm state. So these are things, breath is available to you at all times. So pay attention to your breathing. This is why a lot of meditation practices use breathing, because breathing really helps you get into an elevated state. It helps you connect with higher consciousness on a deeper level. Okay, and again, listen to that video or see that video to go in depth about the specific breathing techniques that I have shared there. So these 2 things you can do on your own. I'm going to share a couple other resources that would be helpful if you are in a state of constant stress. One is acupuncture. Acupuncture is amazing. Again, like I said in the beginning of the episode, it's just an easy way to move your energy that is trapped. When I was living back in Boston, I had an amazing acupuncturist that I would go see pretty much every week because it just kept the energy flowing in my system. Here in Sedona, I haven't yet found one. I haven't found a person, but it is really an incredible tool to have. Again, think about this as a well-being foundational piece versus like going to someone only when you are stressed or have symptoms. A lot of these things is when you can set the foundation up, then less things stick to your system, right? Like then you're much more in a resilient place than having to build on the deficit. So then you already have an infrastructure built in for dealing with things that are out of norm in your life than having to then go and build it up from scratch. Right? It's easier to take care of a person who's already healthy and then they have like a little cold or something than someone who is really, really sick with like all kinds of illnesses and then they get something else. It's like there's no reserve in their system. So acupuncture is amazing. I also love chiropractic work as a way to, again, support the body on a regular basis. My husband and I see a chiropractor pretty much every week because it helps our system be aligned. I mean, we're using your physical body all the time. Are you taking care of it the way you are meant to take care of it? You know, we take care of the things we care about and we love. Are you taking care of your body when you are well, or do you only pay attention to your body when you're sick? Oh, goodness, if you have a paper cut, okay, then you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know this finger existed, but now look at the pain I'm in, right? You are not connecting the dots of how, not you specifically, but every one of us are not connecting the dots specifically of how our system is so intricately connected. And we take it for granted. And I'm guilty as charged. Like, I also have taken my body for granted for many years till I felt sick, till I was bedridden for so many years, right? And then it was like a wake-up call. Now I do not take my body for granted because I have known what it is like to have a body that doesn't work the way you want it to work. At the end of the day, your body is a machine. Are you taking care of all aspects of it, both internally and externally? So chiropractic work is amazing as a foundational piece, again, to support your system. It's really amazing to have the energy flow. Like when I go see my chiropractor, like I just feel lighter. Like it's like the energy is flowing much more easily in my system. The last piece I wanted to leave you with, stress is connected directly to the brain, like your brain is reacting to stress. So, which means, and again, it shows up in the body. And there are certain things that you may be exposed to that exacerbate the stressful reactions that you may have. One is the food that you eat. Now, if you're drinking Coke every day, it is going to impact your physical body. It is going to have your body is going to have less tolerance if you're eating fast food every day. Right? We are meant to eat clean foods. You're meant to eat non-processed foods if you're having a lot of sugar every day. I know this is unrelated, but these things contribute to how your body functions, which means if your body is in a lower level of functioning, then if you're exposed to a stressful situation, you're much more likely to have a reaction than someone who's overall healthy in their mind and in their bodies. So watch what you put into your body. Once in a while you're eating junk food, fine, like who doesn't matter, but it's the compound effect. Your body is very, 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 very tolerant and patient till it isn't anymore. Right? At some point it's like, I'm done with you. You're not taking care of me. I'm done. This is what happens. Health issues don't happen overnight. They happen over a course of time, probably years and years and years into the making. So watch what you put into your body. Are you eating a lot of processed foods? Are you eating really healthy foods? Watch what makes your body do well and what makes your body not do so well. Like I know, like I don't have any tolerance for gluten in my system. I can't eat it. Or I'm choosing at this point not to eat it. There was a time in my life where I could not tolerate it. Now I haven't experimented. I don't want to. I'm happy with but even gluten-free options, if you look at the ingredients list, I'm like, what the heck? Like, what is happening here? Why are they putting all these random stuff into a bread? I'm not eating this. So I'm always looking at the ingredient list. And you may be doing that, you may not. But I'm looking at like, are they putting food coloring? What is this? And it's a joke in my family that they're like, don't let Padma go to the grocery store because she won't come back. That's true. It is really true. First of all, I don't like grocery shopping. I don't like to do it. But when I go, I get so stuck in like reading everything. And like, I mean, I'm an extreme, so it doesn't help. And therefore, I just don't go to the grocery store. I just give it to my husband. I give him a list and say, you go get the stuff. Because I know if I go, I'm going to get stuck there. So might as well not expose myself to that. And in Sedona, there is no grocery delivery service like I used to have in Boston. I was like, oh my God, I really miss that. I miss that in small city, the small town vibe. There are some not so great perks about living in a small town. Anyways, I'm totally digressing. But you get the point. It's like, what are you exposing yourself to in terms of your food? Food is life-giving. So are you taking care of your body or are you destroying it? The other thing, I don't talk much about this in here. It's not because it's not relevant, but there are studies that have shown that the chemicals that you're exposing your body to can sometimes create anxiety and create other symptoms in your body, in your system. Like if you're using very toxic chemicals, like cleaning supplies or in your laundry detergent, so use as much natural stuff as you possibly can. I'm not going to go into too much details here. You can do your own research on that, but really watch out for what kind of chemicals are you exposing yourself to on a regular basis. Again, one-time exposure, not going to do anything. Twice, not going to do anything. But you have a compound effect of like years and years and years and years, then it is going to have an impact. So hopefully all of this is making sense. If you have any questions, you know where to reach me. I'm really happy when I hear back from my listeners because I know there's a lot of you listening. And if certain things make sense to you, please let me know because I would love to hear like what is really making an impact and things that you're like, oh, I would love to hear more of. Please write to me about it. I would love to feature your question too on the podcast. And that's all I got for you today in terms of the healing techniques for dealing with stress. And lastly, there was one other thing. Okay, I am thinking about maybe producing more than one episode in a week. So if you have any interest in that, please DM me on Instagram. That's where you'll find me. I'm not much of a social media person, but Instagram stories is where you'll find a lot of my personal stuff. I just like posting there. And sometimes I zone out on Instagram reels or whatever. Like it's just another way for me to zone out if I want to without having to get hooked up onto a movie or a show or something like that. All right. So that brings us to the end of this episode. If you have, you know where to reach me. And if you can, share this episode with your friends and family, share the podcast with your friends and family. And if you can, please leave a review because again, like I said I've said it many times, this will help reach other people. And together we can raise the vibration on this planet. So thank you so much for being a part of this journey, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for listening. I have a request for you. If you found value, chances are that your friends and family will too. So if you can leave a positive review on iTunes, it will help reach so many more people. And if you have any topics or questions you would like me to feature, please send them to support@padmaali.com. And lastly, please share your takeaways and breakthroughs with me on Instagram @Padma Ali. Thank you so much for tuning in.